Dang it, dude. You're supposed to be perfect, man. Are you freaking kidding me? No, I'm just kidding.
Do you need both to scoot?
Yes. Heck yes. All right. All right. Did you start recording again? Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. Will we still be able to keep the beginning? Sorry. We were so close. I could just mess around with him. You could just mess around with me.
It's okay. You guys don't have to apologize.
Anyways. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest today. One of the coolest trainers in the gym. I feel like has one of those biggest, like, big testimonials when it comes to their fitness journey. Just because I've seen you posted on your story, and I would love to just talk about that, talk about so much other stuff. But I see you run your camps, I see you do your one-on-one training, your group training, all sorts of stuff, and I see you lead the charge for a lot of women. You know what I mean? You're training a lot of women, and so I figured, hey, why not have an amazing podcast with an amazing trainer here in the Central Valley? Her name is Victoria, but I want to go ahead and shout you on Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So where can everybody find you?
Okay. At live_victoriously.
Yes. Okay. Live victoriously. Okay.
Yes.
And I saw that you made some t-shirts said the same thing. I feel like that's such a good catch line too. Live victoriously. Why live victoriously? What do you mean by that? I mean, I feel like it can be self-explanatory, but can you go deeper into that?
Well, honestly, it didn't have a deeper meaning, that it just was something that went along with my name.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so
cool.
and
Sometimes it's that simple.
yeah, you know what? I believe that was like, what do they say? Divine intervention. Like there was nothing available that had Victoria, or, just like, so anyways, I was honestly wanting live victorious, but then I couldn't have that one. So I went live victoriously, and it's turned into like my brand, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
what it means to me now, it means so many more things now. Like the things that I would say I stand for, and the people that I attract. So like, integrity, courage, strength, faith, those things.
Values.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you say, what was that? Strength, courage, faith,
Integrity.
Why those four things?
Those are most important to me. So, when it comes to integrity, it's like doing what you tell others to do. So leading by example. Courage is just having enough courage to be yourself, to go after the things that are in your heart. So the things that people are afraid to say they want, it takes courage, to step out and go after those things. Integrity, what was that?
Yeah, integrity would be, really making sure that you're walking the walk, right?
Yes.
And so.
Yes, definitely. When it comes to faith, I live my life by faith. So.
And so are you Christian? Are you a believer? Or when you say faith, would you say
when I say faith, I say my relationship with God, like my personal relationship with God. I've never been very religious. I just didn't grow up that way. I do go to church occasionally.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have a very personal relationship with God, and that's really how I live my life and how I make my decisions.
Well, and that's what being a Christian truly is, right? I think when people say Christianity, they look at it as an entire religion, and in a sense, it is. But when you think about Christianity as a whole, it's more about a personal relationship with God. Like the right way to be a Christian, like Christian stands for like with Christ, right? Yeah. Personal relationship with Christ. So to your point, you are a Christ believer, and that's the most important thing. Yes. And you believe in the higher power. You believe in someone or something that made all this come to be. Because I feel like everything's a little too divine, a little like too perfect for everything to exist the way it does. You know what I mean? For us to not believe in something like that. So, but you talked a lot about values. You talked a lot about integrity and all these things. So I want everybody to kind of understand that you're not just a trainer. You're also a mom.
Yes.
And you have how many kids?
I have 2 kids. I have 2 daughters. They are 19. One just turned 19, and then my oldest is turning 21 this year.
So, because people watching are probably going to think you're 25, you know what I mean, or 24. So I just wanted to make that absolutely clear. I just want to make that absolutely
And the
clear.
room got quiet. Yeah, usually I get that response. I was 18 when I had my oldest, and for most people that's shocking, and for me, I feel like that's just how it was supposed to be. I was a little wild when I was younger, and I think that helped me get through that stage. And now my kids are older, so I'm able to do the things that I do, like coach, because it does take a lot of your time. It takes a lot of just your, you even like emotionally, like you're there for people in ways that you need the time.
Yeah, you have to give that energy at all times. It almost, I don't know about you, but it almost feels like you can never turn it off, right? Mm-hmm. Because even throughout my day, I'll think about some of my clients. I'm like, man, I hope they're eating the right way, or man, I hope, can I send them a text message to say this or that? And sometimes you have so many people to think and care about. Like the other day, I'm like counting how many clients I have, and I'm like, I really have to encourage and push, that many people. Like it's hard. Even if you have to encourage and push 10 people, like that's a lot of responsibility as a coach.
It definitely is, yes.
But it's nothing you're not familiar with being a mom of two, especially at 18. So tell me a little bit about like that experience, like really realizing, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mom. You kind of said you had a wild, bit of time, but you were only 18, right? Mm-hmm. So you can only have so much time to be wild, but it's almost like God put you in a position of like, hey, if you're not going to grow up right now, you got to grow up eventually. And it's like, let's just make you grow up right now by having a human and being responsible for that. So how was that experience like?
That experience was amazing. I mean, I was ready. Like, I don't know how, anybody else could take on that experience, but I felt like at that time I was ready to just dedicate myself to being the best mom that I could be. So I definitely did devote myself to my children once they both came into this world, and I was able to be there for everything while they were growing up. So I was a soccer mom and the softball mom, and I was obviously one of the youngest moms, but I was there for them for everything. And I don't think that my age had any effect on my mothering. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I'm the oldest child, so in my family, I was usually I was actually taking on that role with my siblings. I have two brothers and a younger sister, and so I felt somewhat prepared.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when you grow up in a family where you're the oldest, you do feel responsible for your younger siblings, mm-hmm. and then even your parents ask you for help to help those younger siblings, and mm-hmm. I feel the parents get easier and easier on their kids the more kids they have. So like by the last one, like my parents only had two kids. I'm the youngest.
Oh, okay.
So but we were so close in age. I didn't really feel that benefit of being the youngest until my sister graduated and started working. And then it was like, hey son, you're like, here you go. You get this and that. But to your point, you learn so much from just being the eldest sibling. My wife is the eldest sibling in her family, and I can even sense in her like there's much more responsibility she had. Her parents expected more out of her.
Yep.
Do you kind of feel that same way?
Yes, I feel like there was always more expected of me, mm-hmm. and you just didn't really have room to, I don't know how to put it, just let you kind of held to a higher standard. So
right.
You weren't able to really make mistakes, it seems like, mm-hmm. Because you're leading by example, especially for your siblings.
Yeah, you use the word leading, and I feel like I'll see you at the gym, and you're leading a bunch of people, guys and girls. Like you're leading a whole bunch of groups, and I've always asked you questions like, hey, like how do you do this? I'm trying to learn from the outside looking in. I just need to be in one of the classes so I can kind of get a better gist of how to lead such a big group.
Yeah.
But how do you feel like your past and what you've had to go through in a sense of just growing up fast, having a family, being the eldest sibling, you know what I mean? Did that kind of help you just become a better leader?
Yes, I think naturally, because I was the oldest child, and just like because of my upbringing, I was very independent at a young age, mm-hmm. that I had those leadership skills. And I'm just like, my intention for everyone is I want the best for everyone. So I feel like that also shows, so people trust that. I feel like that's where it came from. It's just like my childhood being, the oldest, also growing up very quickly, having children at a young age. It came a lot of experience with that. I think there came a lot of experience.
Yeah. Would you say it came with a lot of trials and tribulations?
Definitely.
Yeah. And so with that being said, you have become a very like successful individual, you know what I mean? And you've been leading people. It seems like you're a mother, right? You're a coach, you're all these things. So when do you get time for yourself? When are you able to actually do what you need to do for your own health? Because right now you're physically fit, right? And you are a mother of two. So you had to have separated time for yourself at some points. You know what I mean? So how do you do that?
Right now, currently, I get it in where I could fit it in. Well, there are a few days that I have with my coach or my coaches that I have scheduled for myself. And I do that because I know that I'll commit to that and I won't compromise that. Because sometimes, if you don't have that like appointment set for yourself, your client or someone may need you and you're willing to give that up, right? And that I would always catch myself in that cycle, and then you become like, you yourself become a little sad about it. You're not really getting what you need to give to others. So I feel what works for me is having those set appointments with my coaches, and then everything in between is just where I could fit it in.
Accountability, right?
And I honestly I just need to do something every day. I feel like to just get realigned, and so I just make the time.
Creature of habit.
Yes. Definitely.
Yes, you got to have like a certain way you start your day, certain way you end your day in order to be successful. I feel like all the really successful people have some sort of regimen to their day, despite it being like whether they wake up at 4 a.m. or at 7 a.m., they start their day doing something.
Yes.
But I did want to talk a little bit more about, because we're talking about fitness, life, and all these things help you become who you are. But I also want to chat about your fitness journey, obviously, because that's super intriguing to me. But when did it start for you? Like, when did you, because I feel like everybody has some sort of epiphany, right? Like this moment where they're like, oh my gosh. Like for me, I went to LA and there's this big scale in Hollywood, because you can go to like the biggest world record. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's like a certain area you can go into. And then at the end of the little like, I don't know, attraction, I guess you could call it, there's like a big fat like scale, right? And so like, and a big number on the wall. It's like, they call it the biggest scale in the world. I don't know. But I step on it and I saw like I was 210, and it was like in front of my cousins, and I'm like 5'8". So 210, 5'8", it's not very exciting, And so that was like my epiphany moment. And then a few other ones, but that was like the main one where I was like, I need to do something about this, like bad. So I want to know.
So you had your own fitness like transformation.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to know for you, when was that epiphany moment, or if you've had one, or if you had multiple ones?
Yes. So for me, it's been about 12 years that I've been on my own personal fitness journey. And it started with, so like I said, being a young mom, I wouldn't say I was fit growing up. I was like never into sports or anything. Like I didn't even think about fitness. The only thing I knew was like my dad occasionally worked out. There wasn't really anybody around me that was very active or, into fitness. And so then I had my daughters, and like I said, I, committed to being a mom, and that sometimes in itself leads you to give up things that, taking care of yourself. And so I gained a lot of weight, and I became very uncomfortable in my skin. I do remember feeling like this is not me, and I don't think I know people are looking at me, but I feel like they don't know the real me. I always felt like I was just like in somebody else's body.
Wow.
And then my brother was going to get married, and they asked me to be in their wedding party. And I remember the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm going to have to take pictures. And that's honestly what what helped me, or what I thought it was like, okay, I have this much time to make a difference, make a change. And I was thinking, I didn't know what to expect at that time. I knew I wanted to make a change, but I didn't think this far ahead, obviously. And I just thought, if I could just maybe lose like 10 or 20 pounds, maybe that'll make a difference. And I would say at this time, I was probably like 215 pounds, and I was like 5'2".
5'2" at 215
that looked
pounds.
really crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think, I'm not sure how I found it, but I found a workout video. It was a Jillian Michaels 30-day shred workout video.
She's like the epitome of women's fitness. I don't know if what she says or what she does now is the best thing or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about her.
I don't follow her now.
Yeah, she's on all the magazines. She's like the epitome of women's health. Like, even though she might not be, I don't know, but yeah.
But that video was amazing because honestly, it taught me so much. It was okay. So it was a 30-day shred. So it was supposed to take 30 days. Like, you had 10 days in level 1, 10 days in level 2, and level 3. And I remember I had, and this is now that I think about it, I don't even know how I had this mindset, but I had the mindset of like, there was like the workout, but then the modified version that you could do. And I thought, I'm going to stay at level 1 until I don't have to do the modified version anymore. So I ended up doing that video for like 6 months. It took me like 6 months to finish it.
Yeah.
And then that's how it started for me. From there, I just, and in that video, she talks a lot about like when it burns, that's when you know it's working. And it's all about resistance training, guys. And so those types of things are like things that I still believe in, I mean, not the burn part, but, when you're uncomfortable, that's when change happens. Like when you're training, that's also, how that happens. And I do believe in like weight training, resistance training, all of that now. I'm much more educated in everything, but so that's how I started the journey, and then I went from there. I went and tried almost every day you could think of. I just wanted to keep trying new things. Once I started to see results and I started to see what I was capable of, I felt like there was no end.
Yeah, and so I want to ask you something because I'm more curious because you're talking so much about your fitness journey. I feel like the part that maybe you intentionally skipped over, but like that I'm also curious about is you had 2 children, right? And so with that comes, cravings as you're pregnant, gaining weight as you're pregnant, having to, postpartum, right? Like lose that weight, gain that. Well, you have to deal with a lot, right? Especially 2 kids. That means you went through a postpartum phase for like 2 different times. And I see there's a lot of mothers and everybody's body is so different and everybody reacts to pregnancy so different. I'm learning that with my wife. My wife, her and I were hoping she could still be really active and work out, but that's just not the way her body's reacted to that, And so this is obviously different for everybody, but I know there's a lot of women who kind of say, hey, like, once I had a baby, I couldn't get fit again, right? You're kind of a living example of you can, like there is a way. So how can you speak to the woman who is in that position and kind of encourage them?
Before we get stuck real quick, can you bring the mic over?
Yeah, you can hear me?
I can, but it might be it picks up the room a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Okay. I'm sorry. So women that feel like that there's no hope after having a baby and somewhat, losing themselves or a piece of what they used to be.
Right.
So I do understand that. It's been a very long time since I went through my pregnancy and postpartum and all of that. But I do have many clients that have came to me after having a baby and they were active and they feel like, and then they weren't able to work out or they just kind of lost their path. And I know that when you do go through pregnancy, you almost also feel like you're trapped in your body because your body is growing and it's changing and you have no control over that. And you do somewhat feel like you may lose yourself. And, afterwards, after your pregnancy, you have to be patient with yourself and you cannot focus on what you used to be. I think it's very important for people to not get stuck in how they used to be and really focus on what they want to be going forward. Like, what do you want going forward? And you can have that. You definitely can. You just have to believe in that. But I think what happens with a lot of people, women, even when when they haven't had a baby, but maybe they've just fallen off of their fitness journey and they had progress before that, they were excited about, they get stuck in that and they focus on that and they're trying to get back to that instead of like, okay, let me recreate myself. What do I want going forward? And let me work on that. So I think having that mindset of like, what can we do where I'm at now and going forward and not focus so much on where they were. And be patient with yourself. Things that last long don't happen overnight. So it will take, the hard work. It will take the time, but it'll all be worth it.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I never thought about it like that. I think there are a lot of people, not even just women, but people in general who try to look back at maybe their past self, where they were before. Maybe they were, back when I was 20, I used to be this. I want to get back to that. Well, It's like, you have to accept you'll never be 20 again. So how can you just be the best 35-year-old, 48-year-old, 50-year-old that you are, and almost having to redefine yourself? Do you feel like you've had to redefine yourself?
I feel like it's more like recreate yourself, than
redefine,
I
recreate.
feel, yes, I always believe in that. Like you can be something new tomorrow. Like you don't have to get stuck in you don't have to get stuck in anything. And so for me, I do believe in that. I mean, you obviously see me, like I do a lot of different things. And it's because I want to, like, it excites me and I'm not afraid to say that. And it's created, a happy place for me. So all the things that I do every day are the things that bring me joy. And, that type of training regimen may not exist for anybody else, but like I'm creating that for myself.
And you're creating that for others as well.
Yeah. So it shows other people, like, you don't have to be in a box. You don't have to just be committed to bodybuilding or CrossFit or, any just training style. You can do a whole bunch of things because I'm sure that there's other things that excite you other than, that one style of training, and it's okay. I mean,
Yeah, well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because the other day I had a conversation with Paul. We everybody jokes around in the gym. We're like a family out there, so everybody's got each other's backs. We're hoping for each other's success. And me and Paul will joke around, and I actually had him on a podcast, which I don't know what we'll be releasing after or before. We're still deciding. But we were joking around back and forth, and he had asked me, he kind of like almost implied and inferred that I was like a bodybuilding coach. And I'm like, look, I did a bodybuilding competition one time. I wouldn't even consider myself a bodybuilder. And he's like, well, what do you consider yourself? I'm like, just a person that's trying to make people better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so do you kind of feel the same way? Like, hey, I don't want to categorize myself as somebody who's just a coach or somebody who's just a mom or somebody who's just this. I'm just somebody who wants to be better and help other people become better. Can you kind of speak a testament to that? Or
yeah, most definitely. I think your vibe attracts your tribe. So a lot of times people are just looking for somebody that they can relate to, somebody that speaks to them, and they get it, they understand it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that they're looking for, many coaches can do the same thing, but it's you, the individual, that may be able to connect with somebody that someone else can't. And I think that's so important when you're coaching or being, a guide to somebody through this journey.
And so to touch a little bit more also just on, we were a little bit ago, we were talking about your fitness journey and where you're at with that. So you had talked about to the point where you kind of realized you needed to make a change.
Yeah.
And then you were on the Jillian Michaels and program. So you were 200 and
I would say I was probably like 215, maybe more. Yeah. I was afraid to weigh myself.
Okay.
So
relationship with the scale was probably something.
I knew that I was, obviously I knew, and I was fully aware that I was overweight, way overweight. And I was very uncomfortable, and I was, very self-conscious, and, I didn't even want to admit it to myself, I think. like that had let it get so far. And until I started to do something about it is when I started to get braver about, okay, let me look at the scale now. Like, let me start measuring my progress. Like and thinking about it now, like I was in a very dark place. Like those are very dark emotions, to be ashamed of yourself. So ashamed that you can't even, look at yourself in the mirror without, feeling sad, or you can't even weigh yourself without, feeling like it may trigger like you to stop in your journey because you just feel hopeless. So those are the things that I used to feel, and it feels foreign to me now, but I still remember. I can still remember how those things feel.
Yeah, it made you feel. I don't know if I said this on another podcast or if I just said this. I've said this really often lately, but people don't remember necessarily what you did or even what you did to yourself, right? But we remember a lot about how we feel.
Yeah,
It's like a little kid who like has parents, and those parents maybe did stuff to them that made them feel a certain way. They don't even remember what they did to them necessarily. They remember how the parents made them feel, right? And it's like, oh man, I remember you used to make me feel like this. We're like, well, what did I do? And it's like, I don't remember. I just remember you made me feel like this, And so in that situation, you remember maybe some little things like, oh, when I was weighing myself, this triggered me. But really what makes you remember it is the emotions that you felt during those moments. So you would say during the time when you were making that physical transformation, it was an emotional time for you, but you made it, right? Like you're obviously at a much better point now. So how did you get to that point?
Yeah, and I'll go into it in more detail. It is a long story. I mean, it's been 12 years, and it's been
12 years
since that day.
Since
that day that I would say this, since I got the news that I was going to be a bridesmaid, and that was
that was the epiphany.
The epiphany. I would say it's been 12 years since the epiphany, and I started right away. And so, this is why I say too, and I know it's cliche, but if I can do it, anybody can do it, because at that time.
That's not cliche.
I don't mean to give away my age, but I mean, obviously I already have, but.
Thank you. So I don't have to say it. Well, what were you saying? I don't have to ask because it sounds all rude and everybody's
no, it's okay. I have no problem. I am 38 years old. I'll be 39 next month. At that time, what I was going to say is there was an Instagram where it had just came out, I think. So I didn't have any like social media to look at to give me any guidance. I didn't even really know what personal trainers were. So that's why I started with the workout video that I did at home. And then from there it went, I got a gym membership. I joined classes at the gym. And that's what taught me a lot, is going to classes. And that's a reason why I do a class. And I would say I just found my way following my interests. Mm-hmm. And that's what helped me to have success, is because I was always doing something that I enjoyed, not something that I felt like, oh, this is I don't want to do this today. I would be excited about the things that I was doing because it, I enjoyed it. And I did things like spin. I did spin classes. I did try Zumba. I tried a CrossFit class. I did boxing classes. I did everything that you could think of. And it kind of molded a training routine for me that I could stick to.
That's something. So you dabbled in all these things,
and I did all those things before even knowing anything about nutrition. I was just starting to move my body, right? And then I would start eating. I just knew maybe I should eat less now. And so I would just try to stick to I think I just ate less than what I was eating before. And then somebody made a comment about clean eating to me. Have you ever heard of eating clean? And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. What is eating
What
clean?
is eating clean? So I remember I Googled it, and, it gave you kind of the definition of it. And what I would say clean eating is eating food made from the earth. Anything that comes from a tree, from the ground, that's not, made in a factory, that's eating clean. So that's how I changed my diet. I started to do that. I started to eat clean. So I would eat only potatoes and vegetables and meats, and I stuck to whole foods, and that's when it really changed for me.
Yeah, I think nutrition and clean eating is such a gray area now because there's so many opinions on what food is bad, what food is good. But I think you're right. Like if it comes from the earth, most of the time it's going to be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of the time it's going to be clean for you. There's a lot of opinions that it'll say, oh, this food is bad for you or that food is bad for you, whether it's fruit or vegetables. Like, oh, you shouldn't eat vegetables because X, Y, and Z. Like, there's bad, germs or bad this or bad that. And it's like, just eat what fits well for your body, and if it comes from the earth, most likely it's good. If you eat it and you have a bad reaction to it, stop eating that thing and eat something else. And I think I'm somebody who is pretty strict on myself, but especially like I'll track my calories and my macros. And I think that's important if you have a specific goal and you want that specific goal in a specific time frame. And I think that's a way to guarantee you results. But if you're somebody who you're thinking about the person you were 12 years ago and you're like, okay, well, let me just start moving first.
Yes.
Right. And then the next thing is, let me just start eating a little less. And then the next thing is, let's start eating a little cleaner. And that's how it can start for a lot of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? You're maybe the person you were 12 years ago wasn't ready for here's your calories, here's your macros. You know what I mean? And starting from somewhere like eat cleaner and, keep going down the line of, okay, now I'm at the place mentally, emotionally, physically where I can dedicate myself to more of a stricter meal plan. And for some people, it takes 2 years. For some people, it takes 5 years. For some people, it takes 12 years. So it took you 12 years to become the full person you are today, right?
Yes. And I would say for for most of my weight to come off, it was within 2 years, a year to 2 years. And it would have been a lot sooner if I knew about nutrition, but I was just working out at that time and just eating less. And, I just remember once I started to weigh myself, my goals started to be like getting under like 200, then under 190, 180. And then, once it started to just, and that would take time. It would take, 3 to 6 months sometimes for anything to change on the scale. But then I remember when it would happen, it would be like a significant drop. And, eventually I got to a weight that I didn't imagine myself being at. I remember thinking like, oh, maybe I'll go from, this size to this size and I'll be happy. Yeah. And that I have surpassed that obviously. And now that's it seems like such a goal that I wouldn't have now, but those were my goals back then were like my dropping pant sizes, dropping, from, 10 pounds at a time. And I focused on those small goals and then I remember I also stopped buying clothes. Like I was like, I'm not going to buy clothes until I am in a size that I really like. And so I think that helped me a lot. I would only buy things when I needed it. And then I remember when I lost a pretty good amount of weight and I had to buy clothes, like I didn't even know how to shop. Yeah. Like it was so strange.
But that's a good feeling, right? Because you worked so hard for so long for something and it's a good thing. You're like, oh dang, I have to spend all this money on clothes, but it's like, no, I get to spend all this money on all these clothes because I worked so hard for it. Yes. There's no shame or misunderstanding behind I work so hard for something, I reap the benefit of that thing. And it's like, spend all the money you want to buy the clothes that you want once you get to that goal. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of women when they start their fitness journey, like especially people like in your position, right, who were overweight. You said that, right? You felt you were overweight.
Oh, yes, I was.
And you needed to, for yourself, and I'm sure for your family as well, to be better for them, to be better for yourself. And I think it starts with yourself, and then you think about everybody else around you. And sometimes it can even start with everybody else around you and then yourself. But a lot of women focus on being skinny. Were you one of those women too, to kind of have that mindset where you were like, I just want to get skinny?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. I think especially if you're going through a weight loss journey, your main goal is to basically be smaller. That's really what you think. That's the only thing that you're thinking of. And so I had that mindset, was just like, I want to just look smaller. I want to, weigh less. I just didn't want, that's really all I thought about at that time. And that's all I knew, really, that I didn't know anything more than that.
Right. And now you have packed on a lot of muscle. You're at a point where you're strong, right? You lift heavy weights. So talk a little bit about that, like changing it from having that, oh, I want to get skinny mindset to, I actually want to build muscle, because I feel like a lot, not just women, I mean, a lot of people want to get just, I just want to lose weight. I just want to get skinny. And as long as the number on the scale goes down, I'm fine. But I don't think what people understand is that muscle is beauty, right? Muscle is what gives you shape, not the weight that you lose, right? Because you can lose all this weight, but it's just as unhealthy, and maybe you're not going to be as happy with yourself either way if you're too skinny and if you're too big, right? And so talk a little bit about like that relationship between, you being skinny and then going into the mindset and the relationship with your own body and with your own self of like, okay, I need to gain muscle, right? When did that happen?
Well, I without knowing it, I was already on that track, because like I said, with the Jillian Michaels video, she spoke a lot about resistance training. And I mean, I didn't know anything about that, but just hearing that over and over again, I always knew like, that's what I have to do. And so I was always doing some sort of resistance training, whether it be with like mini weights. I think I started with like 3-pound weights with that video. And so I also believe, without knowing it, that's how I had a lot of success is, I was building muscle and burning fat without knowing that. And I would say my mindset changed.
From saying, hey, I want to be skinny to, well, wait, I actually want to have muscle. I want to be strong. That's a different mindset.
It was probably when I purchased my first bodybuilding program. It was like a 12 week. It was like when I started to get into Instagram, it was like a 12-week
booty building or bodybuilding program
for beginners. Yeah. And every day I was working something different. Like I did arms and like legs. And I think once I completed that, I saw like the effects of it. Like I saw like, my butt was rounder, my legs were defined, I had definition in my arms, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. And everybody, would compliment me, and I thought, okay, like I want more of this. So I think once you start to see what weightlifting or some sort of bodybuilding will do for you, you may like it, and you may become a little bit of addicted to it. And so then, I went through that stage for a while, and then I would say over the past maybe 3 years, I've been more performance focused. So like, I just want to be fast, and I want to be strong, and I want to have endurance, and that's what I train for. And in training for those things, my body has also changed, and I like that too. So I would say like, when it comes to building muscle or changing that mindset,
from I just want to be skinny to, hey, let's build a body, right? Because you don't build a body just losing weight. You build a body through resistance training.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to have definition in your body, and not only that, just you want to be able to pick up your kids, and you want to have,
maybe your arm not be as sore.
Yeah, you want to protect your joints. For example, like you want to not have knee problems or back problems. You do need resistance training. And as you get older, I'm getting older. It's important. It's important for you not only to build it, but maintain it, by working regularly to keep it. So I feel like, it's going to benefit you long term. When you're older, you're going to thank yourself, and you're not going to be worried about being small. You're going to be, concerned with your health, and really overall, it benefits your health.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit also about performance, and that implicates a lot when it comes to just performing well in life as well. Like, and you talked also a little bit about enjoying what you do, right? So right now you're enjoying performance, and that's what helps you show up to the gym more consistently.
Yes.
I know for me, like I used to love leg day. I was back squatting a lot of weight, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm just like, I hate leg day. And then you're like, I mean, honestly, most dudes do hate leg day.
Really?
I hate leg day. Cause I don't know. For me, I can only speak for me. I don't know how other men feel, but I'm gonna speak on my terms.
Okay.
I don't want big legs. I don't care to have big legs.
Okay.
Like, I don't think they do anything for me. I'd rather have legs that I can jump with, I can run fast with, all that kind of stuff. And so
you want to have strong legs.
You do want to have strong
but
legs.
You don't want to have big legs.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I don't want to be squatting 405. Like for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like for
no.
what? Or I don't like, okay, 315. Okay, I get it. Like if as long I've squatted it before, so at least I could say I've squatted it before. But now I'm more about like, especially when it comes to your legs, like I want to be safe. You know, I want to have strong legs. But the last 2 months, I've actually been going to this gym called One Way and getting coached by one of my friends, Michael. And he's been athletically training for a bit now, and he's teaching me a lot of stuff. And so I'm starting to like, you know, learn my coordination, learn how to run, you know, fast speeds, you know, 22 speed at like this whatever incline and whatnot, right? And so I'm starting to learn all this stuff, and it's actually brought me enjoyment again for my leg days, because before I was getting so bored of them. I hated them. I was dreading it. The weight was like, oh, I got to push this. You know what I mean? And even then I'll feel that way with other exercises like incline barbell press. Like, dang, I really got to lift this weight now. Like I like, it was kind of fun when you're lifting 135 and you're just kind of pumping it out. Right. But then now you're like, dang, this guy kind of feels heavy. You know what I mean? Like, and so for legs, it was even harder to push because one, I didn't like it, and two, the weight was getting heavier. And so then you're just like, I'm gonna skip this. You know, like I don't really care for this. And plus, I mean, some guys think whatever, but I like wearing skinny jeans. I don't know. I'm just one of those types of dudes. So I know a lot of dudes like to wear baggy jeans or whatever, but I like my skinny jeans. You know, I like the taper look.
That's okay.
That it gives me, whatever. So that's why I started to like, you know, do my leg days differently. So to your point, I think it is important for people to understand, like, find something you enjoy. Find something you truly enjoy, whether it's doing group classes and the culture of that, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's all 5 of them. I don't, you know, all million of them.
Why not?
Why not?
Who says you can't do that?
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, is I think a lot of the time, especially in the fitness industry, people like to just put you in a box. And, but okay, you do this, period. And it's like, no, like I actually, and I get it, because if you want to do bodybuilding as a thing, then hey, go to a bodybuilding coach. I might not be your guy, but if you just want to build your body, I can help you do that, right? And I'm sure you feel the same way. So when it comes to building your body, what have been like the few things that you've done that you feel like have had the most impact? Has it been the bodybuilding training, or do you feel like the performance actually surprisingly has helped you grow more?
Well, I feel like, I feel like for me, the strength, the strength training has benefited me a lot, you know, and then combining, and I've always done some sort of performance training without knowing it. Like I was always doing like group classes, and you do a lot of like, you know, different things, like, you know, you're doing like box jumps, and you're doing you know, jumping lunges, like you're doing like a lot of plyometrics in some classes. You know, you're doing burpees, for example. Some people, it's very hard for them to get up and off, you know, on the ground and back up again. Like, so those are the things that I would do. And then, you know, doing my strength training, those combined are just, you know, they can create an athlete kind of based training. And so performance right now is, I feel like I fell in love with it because it does give you intention when you're training. And when you have intention, you train harder, right? You do find enjoyment. You're doing things because you know it's going to benefit you in this area.
I love that point.
That to me is why I have been, you know, saying that a lot to some people around me is, you know, like, let's focus on our performance, because when you do, then when you're training, you're going to have intention now, and you're going to push yourself harder, because you're not doing it just so that you can look good, right? Because that's only going to drive you so far. Like, but you're doing this because you may need it for a task, like, you know, for example, if you're doing like an event or something, and that drive is like no other.
Yeah, it's important to be able to perform well, not just for yourself, but for your family too. Like, I know sometimes people don't even care about how they look, right? They're like, literally do not care. The thing that gets them to actually take action is, you know, something that happens with their wife, or something that happens with their family, or they get to this realization, you know, they're having grandkids and they're like, I need to do something about this. Like, whether it's I need to get surgery, I need to start working out, I need to do this. They'll do anything at any cost to do, you know, subject X, Y, Z, whatever, right? I just need to lose this weight, or I just need to start gaining weight so I can feel more energy, or I feel more energized. You know what I mean? And so and that's the sad thing, is I feel like people don't really take action until they get to that point. And that's the sad thing, you know, until they get to the point where it it almost feels like it's too far gone. Like, oh, I have diabetes now, or oh, I have this now, and it's like they have those health issues, and we're the front line. Like, we're here to prevent that stuff, So, and I think that's important to understand that we have that role as coaches and as people who also just, again, want to make others better. You know what I mean? So right now, how do you feel like you're doing that? Because I feel coaching is, yes, you're making people physically better, but I don't think people can, or I don't know how many people understand how impactful it is when you're training, how much it grows like your mental space, right? How important that is. So in some of your clients, you could give examples if you have some, like, how has your training, how has your coaching also affected their like regular lives or even just their mentality?
I would say that it has affected people because I have created a culture, I want to say, of like follow your heart and, be brave and try new things and work hard. And I mean, I live by that. And I think everybody around me, even, my clients, they are like that. And so I've seen, someone that has postpartum depression and they are just feeling very lost in their emotions, and they have found strength through their physical strength and their abilities. It's given them confidence that they are capable of building themselves and creating themselves. And I've also seen people that are very timid, that are afraid to say I want that, try so hard and break down and have, I wouldn't say like they have like an emotional reaction during training because they're pushing themselves that far. And I think, to me, that's beautiful. Like, that's you pushing yourself to new limits. Not many people will do that or experience that. Yeah. And you've just, crossed over to another side. Yeah. And I think once you see what you're physically capable of, your mind, it starts to wonder, like, what else can I do?
Yeah. Is that what you mean when you say crossover to the other side?
Yeah, I think so. And then I think that it crosses over into your life overall. So you may even become more confident at work, or with your friends or in your relationship. And you just feel like you deserve a little more. Yeah. I think that's how fitness can change you in many ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm married right now. I got married in last year, November 3rd. And I can tell you from experience, when I was overweight, when I didn't have confidence, all throughout high school, I was always a jealous person. And even in my relationships, I was jealous. And I would always ask myself, well, why am I so jealous? And there was a lot of, I'm sure my parents had a lot to do, like, maybe there wasn't security in my home in specific ways or whatever, but I just knew I never had that self-confidence. I never had that self-esteem, and I was always super insecure, right? So I look back at my past and I think, man, I treated this person this way. I'm terrible. I'm this, I'm that, right? Like, I can't believe I said this to her, like even things way back when. And I feel like my wife, I'm like, dang, I gave her the best version of myself. Like, I'm so glad I changed and I had that self-confidence to be able to just not just believe in myself, but believe in the Lord and believe in in his promises in Psalms like 139 that we're, beautifully created in the womb. Like, he already knew us before we were born, right? He already knew who we were going to be, what kind of person we're going to be. And having confidence in that gave me confidence, not only in myself, but gave me the initiative to almost take action, in a sense, for my own body consistently daily. You know what I mean? And so I think having those beliefs in yourself, having that self-confidence, getting out of those traps that not even at some point you have to take accountability, right? Like, I can sit here and say, oh, it's my parents' fault, or it's this person's fault, or why I'm insecure, why I'm feeling this way. But like, at some point, you're an adult.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for where you're at and what you're doing. And you have to change that, because you can't go back in time and have different families, or have different cousins, or have different aunts, or have different uncles, or have different friends. Like, you had your friends, you had these people around you, you were dealt a card. Now it might be unfair that you have to deal with it, but nonetheless, you still got to deal with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, right? Like, some people are dealt specific cards, but you can't play that mentality of, oh, boo-hoo, like, this is like this is what it is, right? You got to go deal with it. And so there's a healing process to that.
Yeah, I always say you can be a victim of your circumstances or a warrior of perseverance. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that you have to be stuck in that. You always can overcome. You just have to have faith.
Yeah. When you say have faith in overcoming, how does that look like? How does that look like for somebody to have faith to overcome something?
You have to always know that things are happening for you, even when they're difficult, and that you can learn something from everything. And when you have that mindset, you can let the moment pass. And I feel like, if you're standing here today, you've been through something and the moment has passed and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Or you were able to get through it.
Yeah, you're able to get through it. And, I feel like you're bringing up so many great points. And even earlier, you brought up a point about it being intentional, having
intention is everything, right?
Yeah.
When you think of your motives, why you're doing what you do in every part of your day, and you are always focused on having good intentions, you can never go wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Never.
like when you train, right, you work out, it's like, okay, why am I squatting today? Well, my intention is to get bigger quads, right? And so, or my intention is to get a bigger butt because maybe my butt's flat right
That's
now,
okay.
right?
Yeah,
or like
totally.
for me, when I train chest, I train my chest so hard and like, because I want it to grow because it's my lacking point, right? Because it's like, I just want this thing to get better, but I work on it so hard, and because I'm intentional about it, right?
Yeah.
And so eventually I will see results, you know what I mean? It might take longer than it could take somebody else because genetics are so different. Everybody is so different. But I think that's a testament to being intentional about not just the way you exercise in that example, but about life too. Like being intentional about who you want to be as a person, your values, your morals, or things like that.
When you're good with yourself, like when you're taking care of yourself, when you're good, when you're happy, you're good to others. And if you are creating people like that or helping people to find that, then it's a domino effect, right? And that's what we hope to do.
Yeah.
We hope to help people find happiness within themselves, peace and strength within themselves, so that they can go out into the world and, hopefully affect somebody else in that way.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Like I feel like that's such a great message because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here to do, right? Is because if you live a life for yourself, why? Like, what's the point of that, right? Like,
well, if you're a faithful person and you know that we are here to serve each other, right? That is like what our purpose is here. So whatever gift you have, you're good. Like you're good at doing this. You're good at being a coach. There's people that don't have that gift, and you're giving back by sharing it. Everybody has that. They have that within them. So that is how you serve.
Yeah, and that's serving. Yeah, I mean, even from a perspective of like, I tried my best to serve at church. I'm not always perfect. I have such a busy schedule that sometimes I'm trying to squeeze clients in at this time or this time, and then sometimes I'm not able to serve as consistently as I want to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm perfect, I serve so much. You know what I mean? Because I do try my best. But I do think it's important to serve to some extent, and I think the hardest part about being a coach is sometimes you're serving, but you still got to like take money from people. And it's like, but, but it's like, because I have to eat, and so but the cool thing about being a coach is that you get to do what you love and live from it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's a God-given opportunity to do what we're doing and be where we're at and inspire others and serve others, you know what I mean? So one more time, where can everybody find you so maybe you can serve them at some point?
On Instagram at live _victoriously_.
And so to end it off, I realized I literally did not even do the welcome to the Righteous and Real podcast, where real power inspires real change.
That's wrong.
I keep getting it wrong. I can't remember it. Real talk inspires real change or empowers. Okay. So if I'm going to introduce, welcome to the Rise Real podcast. We're real, I already forgot again. Real talk empowers real change. Okay. And inspires and serves others. We're here to serve you, and we're super happy and glad that you were able to make it on the pod. And with that, stay righteous, stay real. We out. Peace. Peace. There you go. Cool.